Jess, let me start with a question for you. The film is science fiction, but it also is very much sort of a human sort of family drama in a way. What is it that you like about genre storytelling? Do you like the fact that it can like be more than one thing at the same time?
Absolutely. I feel like genre is such a good way to use allegory and talk about really very, like you said, very human themes in very creative ways, especially where you're not sort of beating the audience over the head with what that theme is. And I feel like there's a lot of that in this movie. There's definitely a few different things going on, but I feel like everyone that watches it can kind of apply some of those themes to their own lives and hopefully connect with it and extract their own meaning from some of the themes.
Gabriel, Kate, what was it like for the two of you to find that sort of human story within this kind of fantastic, it could be a much more fantastic or seemingly unrealistic tale?
For me, when Jess and I met and I read it, I think first and foremost what struck me was this theme of adoption, loving something outside of yourself, outside of your bloodline. And of course, she and I, Scarlett, who plays our daughter, is adopted. And then, not to get too much of the film away, I guess you've seen it, but, Kate herself has been adopted. And to love something that is not of you and to accept that. And I just found that to be a really kind of beautiful thought. And our bonds are strained, and it's just the human element there is it rests on her very small shoulders, but she was Atlas and she held us all up, and it was really fantastic to watch. We haven't talked since I've seen it, but it's
I have to say, first of all, thank you for that compliment, but I want to echo your sentiment as well. For me, that the elements of the family drama in it was really intriguing to me. Loving, choosing to love someone who is not, brought to you in a traditional way. I think that's really interesting, and so many people can relate to that, connect to that. So I agree. That was something that I was excited about when I read it as well.
Because just for you, what are the sort of larger, like, what is the thing that's not sci-fi? Like, to you, what is the larger story that you're sort of getting at here?
Well, to be perfectly honest, because we've talked a lot about this, to me, the most important theme of the movie is so tied to the twist that all I want to do is talk about it, but I'm scared if I say it, it's going to give away the ending.
Yeah.
So, like, how do I talk about this movie without talking about this theme? Because I feel like once you know the twist, it allows you to rewatch the movie in a whole different way, and it gives so much meaning to the story and to the journey. But I feel like if but I want to talk about it because it's so important. It's the whole, it's so everything to me. But trying to think of a way I can distill it without giving any spoilers away. I think, to me, the movie is very much about becoming your most authentic self, and really just kind of figuring out what that is for you outside of work, friends, family, responsibilities, cultural labels, everything that kind of earthly life and earthly society applies to us essentially the second that we're born. So I feel like, to me, Sam's journey, Kate's character Sam in the film, is really about her finding herself.
Without giving anything away, knowing that there's going to be a twist in a story like this, are you playing like in a layered way so that you're sort of playing to the twist? Like, I'm curious, the idea of like you can watch the movie again and it seems totally different. Like, how do you get that into a performance?
Well, for me, I was lucky because Sam doesn't know the twist either. So I don't have to worry about giving it away because my character is really on the same knowledge level as the audience is. So that, in that sense, it was easy for me. But of course, you always want to play your characters in a layered way anyway, and never want to give away the end of this story. So I felt like I was a little bit lucky because Sam is sort of discovering it all at the same time as the audience is.
But I do think watching it in a subsequent viewing, you'll have this sense of, there's a threat looming always, but
Yeah.
when you watch it again, you might realize that it's more of a kind of a protective, like a protective circle, that much more than it is an enemy to be fought throughout. So I think that's, if anyone were ever to watch it again, would have that experience and see this kind of more nurturing aspect of these entities. I don't know what I can
Talk
say.
about it without giving it away.
I know it's so hard to talk about. All
But
you do is talk about that.
and I think that there's this kind of like a military component as well, and the idea that when we kind of create threats, it gives us license to start building the system by which we fight these things, and then increase defense budgets and all these things. And I think that there's kind of a microcosm of that. And so often when we see these films that have some of these elements, it's all about us against them, and excuses for us to escalate the arms race in a way. And I love that this kind of turns that idea on its head towards the end. Yeah.
And Kate, you spend a lot of time in the film just by yourself. What is that like just as a performer? Like, what are you don't have a scene partner. Like, what are you sort of working off in these, long scenes where you're just sort of by yourself?
Well, I was never alone. Love you. Yeah, it's interesting. It's really interesting. I really had to rely on my imagination, which is in a way really fun, because when you have scene partners, it does make it way easier. You're just listening to what your co-star is saying and experiencing, and it's just much easier when you have other people involved. But yeah, when you're on your own, it's much more. It kind of felt childlike in a lot of ways, because as a child, I feel like our imaginations as children are so much stronger than they are when we're adults, and so I don't know. It's sort of interesting to have to really use different parts of my brain and experience, and really, it was definitely a different process of sort of prepping for the role when I didn't have Gabe and when I didn't have Lawrence there to play off of.
But we were all in that house together, sure.
It's true. I was never alone.
Never
A
alone.
water bottle. Yeah, hot water was very cold.
Beautiful, beautiful house in the Wicklow Mountains in Ireland. It's a beautiful place.
And just what was it like for you directing Kate in those scenes?
Firstly, a dream come true, obviously. We had a great time. I mean, I certainly tried to do as much in order as possible. It wasn't always possible. So Kate was very gracious to go on the journey with me of doing some things out of order and trying to find where the levels should be for the part of the story we were in. So we were kind of finding that together as well. But it was just a dream. I mean, truly, there was absolutely nothing there. She's acting in the most incredible way with truly nothing. Like, truly, there was maybe a tennis ball, or I think you said the other day, maybe a $3,000.
I think I stood in one time for VFN.
Yeah. So it was actually really fun to watch early cuts of the film, because we would screen it for audiences and friends and family with just absolutely nothing in there. So Kate's performance was truly carrying the entire film when there was literally nothing there. So it really shows you the depth of your talent. Obviously, we all know, but it's so fun, I think, also getting to sort of watch you unravel in this film and sort of start.
Well, that was really easy for me.
Like, really starting from this place of being very buttoned up, very professional, very sort of by the book, and then kind of just letting things just snowball into this very sort of messy, very human, very raw performance. It's just such a blast to watch.
And even in her terror, when I watched it, there's the bravery of an officer or somebody who has a military background, who's gone through this training. It's it doesn't kind of devolve into just sheer terror. It's always this very controlled, focused performance, which there's nobody there. Nobody there. No,
This interview forever.
Gabriel, I want to ask you, please correct me if I'm wrong, but you were born and raised here in
Austin, Texas.
And so what is it like for you to, to world premiere a new movie here at the festival?
I mean, I usually only come here when I got a dog in the fight. So, but it's, my mother, my grandmother, everyone's here, and you kind of return as the conquering hero, and everything's great. But I just love to be the ambassador. They've come to town, and I'd like to, just try to share my recommendations and all the good spots. If some of them are still here, so that's good. But because there's exponential change, I'd say every 3 or 4 months, the whole town seems to flip over. But it's a wonderful place, and man, we really caught a great week. It's beautiful out there right now. So no, I'm happy to be home.